Hey guys, today's video is on the book The Undefeated Mind, The Science of Constructing an Indestructible Self by Alex Lickerman. So this book's pretty cool because it draws on the principles of both Buddhism and new scientific research to argue that we can cultivate the inner strength, also known as resiliency, that we need to enjoy the difficult lives we all have. So let's go through some of the key lessons in the book. The first lesson is on happiness. So we all have an innate drive to be happy. It's at the core of what we do and why we do it. The choices we make in life are driven by our desire to be happy. But finding happiness is difficult for two reasons. First, typically we think it's something it's not. A lot of us think that being happy is the result of a pleasurable experience, but if you really think about it, it's not. Pleasurable experiences are fleeting sensations and may contribute to your happiness, but that's not true inner happiness. You really have to ask yourself, what does true happiness mean to you? Really think about what it means to you, not a perceived notion of happiness. A lot of times we may think we will be happy when we achieve this or that, but when we get to that goal we've set in our mind, nothing much has changed. We're still the same. The reality is, you can be happy now. You don't have to attach it to some future goal or achievement. It's all in your mentality. And the second reason finding happiness is so hard is because of something called loss aversion. So we look for things that we think will make us happy, like a nice house, a nice job, a car, but we aren't prepared to deal with losing them. So possessions that we think will make us happy don't only keep us in a fear-based mindset because we're afraid of losing them. Attachment to these things also makes us vulnerable to suffering. Now, I'm not saying you should give up everything that you own and live in poverty, but I'm saying that you should enjoy what you have, but don't be afraid to lose it. In the words of JFK, everything changes but change itself. And Alex goes on to say in his book, happiness isn't as much a function of what our lives look like on the outside as it is a function of how we feel about them on the inside. Sounds cliche, but it does come from within you and not outside of you. Being happy isn't selfish either, because when you're happy, that happiness becomes contagious and impacts those around you. The next lesson, which ties into happiness, is that you should strive to have a strong purpose in life. This is said time and again throughout many books. So this is nothing new, but how many of us are just working to pay the bills so you can keep living to work to pay the bills? It's kind of a crazy cycle when you think about it. So just keep in mind, we're all unique. We all have something special to bring to the table. We all have a purpose. When you have a purpose in life, you have meaning and are firmly grounded into your belief. This makes you incredibly strong because you'll be able to keep going through any obstacle or challenge that life throws your way. In the words of Nietzsche, he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. Our mission needs to be coupled with a great determination and a great motivation. It has to be something you would do even if you weren't getting paid to do it. Additionally, your mission should contribute to the well-being of others. When you help people, you help yourself. Find a way to create value for others. And this is another lesson that's said time and again as well. When you give your life in the service of others, you will have a fulfilling life. And another great quote, this one from Einstein, I believe in one thing, that only a life lived for others is a life worth living. So with all that said, take the time to define a personal mission. It should be something you feel at your core. No one else can choose this for you. It shouldn't be based on your image, parental expectations, or what you want others to think about you. It needs to be based on what you have excitement and passion for. If you decide on something because that's what you think it should be, and you force yourself to feel excited about it, it's not going to work in the long run. Maybe you'll have some short-term success, but you're going to run out of motivation and you won't have the willpower to sustain that. So it has to be something you're already excited and passionate about. Think about some things that have excited you in the past to get you started. If you're having trouble, ask yourself throughout the day, what's my mission? What's my purpose? Pay close attention to your experiences and how you react to them. Don't expect to know your mission right away because it can take time. To help open your mind about it, Alex suggests writing down 50 experiences that you have enjoyed the most. What's a common theme among them? Most likely, most of them involve other people. Creating value for others, helping others, encouraging others, serving in some capacity. Another exercise you can try is to imagine you're being given an award by the president at the age of 90 years old. What would be the most fulfilling award to you? This can help provide some clarity as to what you really value in life. Keep in mind, your mission shouldn't be a personal sacrifice. It should be mutually beneficial to everyone involved. Lastly, your mission doesn't have to be complex. It can be extremely simple, so don't overcomplicate it. Take time to sit down and think about it on your own. A strong sense of purpose can help you increase your ability to endure pain. It can increase your sense of self-worth. It can provide you with the strength, courage, and determination needed to overcome obstacles that would otherwise destroy you. It can help you set boundaries and enable you to say no when necessary. This is for the people pleasers among us. It keeps you excited and not bored. It makes mundane tasks more enjoyable. And lastly, a mission will provide a sense of satisfaction at the end of your life. In the words of Viktor Frankl, suffering ceases to be suffering the moment it acquires meaning. The next big lesson in this book is on failure and building up your resolve. So it's not all unicorns and rainbows out there. You're going to fail. You're going to get knocked down. Your ability to soldier on and keep trying will determine how successful you are in accomplishing your goals. When you fail, accept that your self-confidence may wane a little bit, but make an effort to get it back as quickly as possible. Failure shapes you, and it's in failure that we find out who we truly are. You may fail 20 times, but if you keep trying, your chances of success will increase. Thomas Edison made 1,000 unsuccessful attempts at inventing the light bulb. And when asked how it felt to fail 1,000 times, he replied, "I didn't fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was an invention with 1,000 steps." That's a very, very powerful perspective. He didn't look at it as failures. He looked at it as each attempt was a necessity in the invention of the light bulb. Each attempt was a lesson that says, hey, this method doesn't work. Let's try another one. When you have that kind of perspective, failure doesn't knock you down. You just blow right through it. So another great quote from Alex's book, "What separates people who ultimately succeed from those who fail is simply a larger number of tries and a willingness to keep failing." And another, "No matter how many times we failed, no matter how much we may want to quit, victory can still be ours. As long as you never quit, victory can still be ours." Alex's next big lesson is about obstacles. When you're on the journey to fulfilling your mission, you can expect obstacles. It's inevitable. First, you need to change your mindset about obstacles. You need to welcome them and see them as indicators that you're making progress. Obstacles are a natural side effect of progress, and in turn, obstacles make us stronger. Don't see obstacles as a threat, see them as a challenge that needs to be overcome. Or better yet, see them as an opportunity for personal growth. Most importantly, you have to believe that you can overcome any obstacle that's thrown your way. If you don't have the belief that you can overcome the obstacle, then you're not going to. Believing that you can overcome the obstacle is really the first step. First, you need to identify obstacles that might discourage you. So if your goal is to lose weight, you're going to need to identify those obstacles that are going to discourage you from that goal. Unmasking the potential obstacles is a powerful exercise. It basically shows you that there aren't as many as you thought, and you'll realize that you can overcome most of them. So the next step is that you want to have a plan for that obstacle that might be thrown your way. So when you have a plan in place, you won't even have to think about what to do when those obstacles come your way because it's going to be automatic. You're going to know what to do. And then kind of a side note, it's okay to analyze and think about your problems and obstacles, but don't ruminate on them. Understanding your obstacles is good, being aware of them, but it's important to focus more on the goal rather than the obstacle. If faced with an obstacle, do what you can to solve it with the information you have. Don't go about it blindly, but also don't do nothing. Don't fall into what we call paralysis analysis, where you keep analyzing and you don't take any action. Make a decision and then act. If we try something to overcome the obstacle and it doesn't work, we know what doesn't work and we can move on to the next thing, just like Edison. Alex's next lesson is one of the biggest and something we have already touched on a little bit. He calls it turning poison into medicine. Basically, you can transform any experience of failure into a benefit if you change your perspective. Even if the benefits aren't obvious right away, and they usually aren't, this failure can at the very least be seen as a lesson that you can teach to someone in the future. Sometimes we don't realize what the benefit of the failure was until years later. You have to take those blinders off and look at the big picture. We really do have such a small perspective, and more than likely, we're missing the benefit of the failure. So really practice looking for the good in everything. Always seek to look for the good, even in the worst situations. And remember, the things that you have overcome in the past, and have confidence in your ability. And as Alex says, we have the power to create meaning out of what happens to us. Even if the thing that happens seems terrible, meaning can be found. And when it is found, it makes that thing much easier to deal with. It's all about changing your perception. Our negative perception of the event is what causes pain. Let's say something bad happens to you or stops you from achieving your goal. If you have the mindset that you can't overcome the obstacle, then you're already defeated. So it's the thoughts about the things that happen to us that determine what we do next. So it's vitally important for us to be confident that we can overcome it and solve the problem. For example, let's say you fail a test. Do you say to yourself, I failed a test because I'm a bad test taker? Or do you tell yourself, I failed because I didn't study hard enough. Based on those two thoughts, it's pretty obvious who's going to study harder and pass and who's going to fail again. Alex's next lesson is on acceptance. A lot of the suffering that people experience in life is not a result of bad things happening to them, but it's a result of them trying to run away from the bad feelings that bad things happening cause. I'll say that one more time. A lot of suffering that people experience in life is not a result of bad things happening to them. It's a result of them trying to run away from the bad feelings that bad things happening cause. There's a relatively new cognitive behavioral therapy called acceptance and commitment therapy, and it basically states that you should allow these feelings in and accept them instead of fighting them. Even if you feel nervous to do something, just allow the feeling to come and do it anyway. When you don't resist the feeling, something different happens inside of you. Usually it's that resistance that makes it twice as bad. You're not only feeling the nervousness, but you're also resisting it, so it becomes twice as bad. When you just accept that feeling and let it be, something happens. It's very empowering, and it actually reduces your anxiety or nervousness. When you stop avoiding feelings of pain, either emotional or physical, you become powerful and able to do more than you thought you could. So tell yourself, hey, this might suck, but I can do it, and I'm going to embrace whatever feelings come my way. When you mess up or feel bad, just accept it. Don't judge yourself. Just get back to it and try again. It's when we feel most discouraged that we need to keep trying. When you do get back in it and start trying again, you'll realize just how capable you are. You'll become more resilient, and over time you can handle more and more. When in doubt, ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? It's probably not as bad as you think. And if the worst did happen, you can survive and thrive with the right mentality. The next big lesson is on negative thought. One type of obstacle, negative self-talk, is going to rear its ugly head when we set out to accomplish a goal. These negative thoughts are very capable of stopping us in our tracks even before we begin, if we let them. So you must see these negative thoughts for what they are, and the first step is to become aware of when you're doing it. The first step is always awareness. It's hard at first to identify them and not go on arguing with our negative selves, but it gets easier the more and more you practice. So you can do this throughout the day. You'll notice a thought pop up, and you can just become aware of it. Some practices that Alex recommends. So negative thoughts can be minimized through avoidance and distraction. So you observe them when they come, try not to judge, just accept them and then let them go quietly. What you don't want to do is waste energy resisting them. Another way is to manipulate your focus away from these negative thoughts with a more attractive thought. So think of something positive and unrelated, or find a way to flip that negative thought, even if only slightly shifting it. This will stop the negative thought from owning you and taking all of your focus away. What you focus on grows. Again, recognize when you're negative self-talking and make an effort to replace it with a positive one. The more you do it, the better you'll become, and it'll eventually become automatic. So this is a quote from Alan Cohen, the author of Why Your Life Sucks. To find your freedom, stand at the doorway of your mind and monitor your thought. Notice which ones lift you up and which ones drag you down. Then, like a bouncer at an exclusive party, admit only those on the invitation list and send the others back where they came from. Shift your attention and you will shift your life. And finally, Alex's last lesson that I want to touch on. We need to focus on what's in our control. There's really only one thing that you have control over, and that's how you respond to what happens to you. This is sometimes called the stimulus response gap. Something happens to you, and in that moment before you respond, there's a gap. And in that gap, you have the freedom to choose what your response is going to be. That is where your greatest freedom lies. Some, if not most of us, don't have the will or hardiness to react constructively to adversity. Usually our emotions get the best of us, so you get that knee-jerk reaction and you react without even thinking about it. What you have to do is practice to widen that gap between the stimulus of what's happening to you. Like, for example, somebody yells at you. Instead of reacting immediately, take a second to pause, think about it, and try to react with your brain instead of just a knee-jerk reaction. You can build up your hardiness by actively trying to respond constructively in the face of hardships. Do this by becoming aware of your reactions. It's as simple as paying attention to how you respond. This creates a separation between your emotions and your higher self. And another great quote by Viktor Frankl. And by the way, if you don't know who Viktor Frankl is, he wrote a great book, Man's Search for Meaning. Highly recommend it. I'm going to do a video on it pretty soon here. Amazing book. But anyways, one of his quotes: when we are no longer able to change the situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Defeat doesn't come from failing. It comes from giving up. The last lesson is on adversity. Alex goes on to say that you can handle much more adversity than you think. If you are put in an extremely tough situation, you would rise to the challenge. Most of us would. Think about the difficult times that you've made it through. I often think of prisoners of war who have been captives for 5, 6, 7, or even 8 years, and I believe if you told them at the beginning of their capture that they would have been captives for that long, I don't think they would believe they could do it. I doubt it. But since they were put in that extremely difficult situation and had an undefeated mind, they were able to overcome their hardships and survive. At least some of them. Think of all the struggles humans have overcome throughout history. Crossing the ocean in 1500s, crossing the US in wagons in the 1800s. If put in a situation, you could survive and overcome much more than you probably think you could. So you have to believe you can get through anything. And that's the biggest lesson in this book. Alright, so there you have it. The biggest lessons I was able to pull out of Alex's book. A bit of a long video, so let's briefly review. First, find out what really makes you happy. Second, what's your purpose in life? It's something you would do even if you weren't getting paid to do it. 3, believe in your ability to overcome anything, and if you fail, get back up and start again. 4, look at all things, even failures, in a positive light. It's called turning poison into medicine. You can transform any experience into a benefit. 5, obstacles are a part of the path to success. Expect them and have a plan for them when they arise. 6, accept any event or feeling that comes your way. Just allow it to be. 7, catch yourself when you start that negative self-talk. Become the bouncer of your mind. Only let good thoughts in. 8. Focus on what's within your control, which is your response to the things that happen to you. Practice expanding that gap in between the stimulus and your response. Pause to reflect before you react to a situation. 9. Lastly, you can handle way more adversity than you think. Believe in your ability. So some honorable mentions I didn't cover. Encourage others. Never give up. Take responsibility for your life situation. Free yourself from the need to be liked. Be comfortable and accepting of your feelings. Give yourself permission to feel how you actually feel. Don't resist those feelings. Accept the inevitable, which is old age, sickness, and death. Practice self-compassion. Appreciate the good. You want to practice gratitude. Be more compassionate towards others. Approach people with curiosity instead of judgment. Reduce anxiety through diaphragmatic breathing, mindful meditation, and imagining relaxing scenes. See problems as challenges instead of threats. See yourself as part of the whole and become aware of the interconnectedness of life. Examine your sense of self. And finally, Alex says, the world has become an increasingly less violent place over the millennia. This is due to our moral progress over time. World peace will continue without you. The question is, what do you want your contribution to be? Obviously, this book is chock full of great stuff, so if you liked the video, go check out Alex Lickerman's book, The Undefeated Mind, and please like and subscribe for more. Thank you.